Hello, I'm Detective Jack Marlowe. Welcome to my channel. For over 20 years, I've walked through crime scenes most people couldn't even imagine. I've seen what's left behind when the lights go out, when the sirens fade, and when the truth hides beneath silence. Here on this channel, I'll take you inside those cases. Real investigations, real victims, and the dark minds behind them. Every story you'll hear is true. Every name, every date, every clue once sat in a real case file. So turn off the lights, and let's begin. Today, I bring you a case where the hidden truth behind appearances is revealed in the most shocking way. A story that will make you say, "No way, this can't be real." Before diving into the details, I should mention, this case didn't come straight to us. It was first handled by the Missing Persons Unit, until signs began to suggest something much darker, the possibility of murder. The local police department had received a call. The caller was the younger brother of a man named Wade Barnes. He reported that Wade hadn't been seen since the night before, and that no one could reach him. He sounded genuinely worried. A team was dispatched to the area where Wade lived. When they arrived in Iowa, they were greeted by Wade's brother, Harris, who invited them to his home, located close to Wade's farmhouse. Harris began by describing Wade. Wade was in his early 40s, married, with 3 children, and a farmer by trade. 2 of his children had already moved out, while one son still lived at home, helping with the farm work. From the outside, it seemed like a perfectly happy family. But Harris, who knew them well, painted a different picture. Unfortunately, Wade had broken all social taboos and started seeing another woman. His already strained relationship with his son worsened, and after the affair began, both his wife and son completely distanced themselves from him. The rest of the family was unaware of this until Wade suddenly disappeared. Before contacting us, Harris had spoken with Wade's wife and son, asking where his brother was. When he received unsatisfactory answers, he decided to involve the authorities. After taking Harris's statement, our colleagues from the Missing Persons Unit went to Wade's home to speak with his wife and son. They were cautious, but didn't jump to conclusions. They canvassed the surrounding homes, and because security cameras weren't common back then, they relied on eyewitnesses. Locals described Wade's wife and son as quarrelsome and reported that they treated Wade poorly. I remember how long this case stayed with the Missing Persons Unit. While the investigation continued, more details emerged. For instance, Kate, the other woman, had been seen in the area, watching the house from a distance. Meanwhile, Wade's wife and son seemed completely unconcerned, acting as if nothing had happened. Even small details, like Wade's son suddenly trading cars, drew attention. When I spoke with the team working the case, the detail that stood out the most was Kate watching the house. And once I explain why that bothered me, you'll understand. Wade's wife and son insisted repeatedly that he had left to start a new life with Kate, almost trying to convince us it was a certainty. But if Wade had really run off with Kate, why would she come back secretly to monitor the house? The team itself was divided. Half believed Wade had truly left, while the other half suspected something more sinister was going on. If you're wondering why I'm telling you this, or how a complex missing person case ended up in the Homicide Unit, keep listening. One day during the ongoing investigation, a young man came forward to provide a statement. At this point, the Missing Persons Unit was still handling the case. The young man claimed that shortly after Wade disappeared, he had seen Wade's wife and son burning something in the backyard, taking items out of plastic bags and throwing them into the fire. Even after all these years, I still question how and why this tip changed everything, but it did. After this witness came forward, the case was officially moved to Homicide Division. All witness statements, field notes, and investigative reports from the Missing Persons Unit were handed over to us. To be honest, I wasn't particularly excited at first. It seemed like a typical case of domestic tension, a man under stress who finally ran away. The backyard fire also seemed like a coincidence. But when I personally attended the interviews, I realized that both the wife and son harbored a deep hatred toward Wade. He was a stranger to them. Think about it. If someone in your neighborhood disappeared suddenly, you'd feel concern, maybe even sadness. But not them. What ultimately brought the case to our division wasn't just the fire or the hatred. It was how relaxed they were. They continued life without fear, without altering their routines. Sure, resentment can exist, but a missing person would normally cause at least some anxiety. So the possibilities were clear. Either they had harmed Wade and gotten away with it, or they knew exactly where he was and were hiding it. The missing persons unit had already checked other angles: debts, enemies, neighbors with grievances. But every lead went nowhere. Wade was a quiet man focused on farming, whose only real mistake was getting involved with a second woman. All of this made the wife and son's calm behavior highly suspicious. The fire, the hatred, the unnatural composure, it all pointed to something dark. The first thing we did after taking over was review all the evidence from the missing persons unit. We re-interviewed Harris and other witnesses, collected ash and soil samples from the backyard fire. Months later, lab results confirmed what the wife had said. The burned items were just old clothes. No trace of blood or bone. This seemed like a dead end. Still, we requested arrest warrants. Pressure can bring confessions, and that's exactly what we did. When we arrived in town and took the wife and son into custody, the locals were tense but unsurprised. 2 days of interrogation passed. No confession, no breakdowns. During custody, the mother and son remained silent, almost like statues. No panic, no desperation, just cold acceptance. But something inside me told me there was more. The next day, my team and I conducted a detailed search of the property and surrounding farmland. Subtle details, disturbed soil, depressions near the barn caught our attention. Small signs, but often where the truth begins. Wade's sudden disappearance, the wife and son's unnatural calm, the backyard fire, all of it suggested a plan behind the scenes. Months of surveillance and quiet observation led nowhere. Without a body, the case remained unsolved and was eventually shelved. Years later, a tip came in from Cedar Rapids. A man reported finding a body in his home. We rushed to the scene. The first thing we saw was a terrified homeowner. The house was nearly empty, dusty, and smelled of mold. We didn't know what kind of body we'd find or where to start. He led us to the basement. There it was, an old refrigerator humming faintly. I realized immediately what it was, and my heart started racing. Inside were 10 black garbage bags neatly stacked on shelves. The homeowner had only opened one, and a terrible stench hit us. Forensics arrived immediately. The homeowner explained that he had rented the house 12 years ago. Rent and bills had always been paid on time, but for the past 2 months, no payments were made. He couldn't reach the tenant, Kate Ramirez, and decided to check the property himself. Hearing her name, Kate Ramirez, my partner David and I locked eyes. It was impossible. Kate, Wade Barnes' mistress from 12 years ago. We had finally found Wade. Forensics worked through the night. The body parts inside the freezer belonged to Wade Barnes. 12 years, cut into 10 pieces, preserved in the dark. Kate Ramirez had ended his life. The timeline showed Wade was murdered shortly after disappearing. Kate had rented the small house in Cedar Rapids quietly, lived there for 12 years, paying rent and bills on time, blending into normal life. Then she vanished 2 months ago. When the landlord came to check, he unknowingly uncovered a frozen secret that had been hidden for over a decade. Ironically, Kate's death had revealed Wade. The case was closed, but no one faced justice. Kate Ramirez was dead. Wade Barnes had been gone for over a decade. What remained were questions, and a chilling realization of what ordinary lives can conceal. This was the Frozen 12 Years. Thank you for watching. Your thoughts are always welcome. I will read every single one. Until the next case, stay curious. For privacy, names and locations have been changed.